approach yoga, and people perceive yoga just as a physical practice, but there's many other elements to yoga. So people come to a class to get out of their monkey mind, out of their thinking mind, and start to feel into their body. And that's the first step. And as people start to feel into their body, they begin to feel that they can change things in their body. So it's about energy, and it's also about quietening that thinking mind and realising that we're actually a lot more than just our thoughts.
Yes. So it gives you that whole relaxation in a busy kind of world.
Absolutely.
So a lot of the business ladies who are listening to us now, they could benefit from doing some yoga.
Absolutely.
Especially at those stressful times.
Yes. And it's tuning in, it's tuning the world out, tuning into your breath. And the breath is a very important part of certainly the way that I teach yoga. It's linking movement with breath, and it's learning to breathe well.
Yeah.
A lot of us breathe at the top here of our lungs, getting very anxious. In fact, the lungs are quite an enormous organ, and we've got to take it right down deep into the bottom of our lungs.
And that, I suppose, could then help people with, because I'm an asthmatic, and I've actually played the trumpet, which has always helped with that kind of breathing. But it does help you when you've got kind of breathing issues.
Absolutely. I do a chair yoga class at Ekatahuna Health Centre on a Monday. I've got a lot of ladies who sit on chairs and we lift arms. And I've sat with the lady that does the breathing exercises with them. She's a registered breathing expert, and I've made sure that which I teach marries up with what she does, and it does. So very much people have already said, hey, listen, I'm breathing better, and I'm also sleeping better because I'm breathing well.
Yeah, I think that's key, and I actually notice as well when I've not played the trumpet for a while and my breathing isn't as good, because you do actually have to regulate your breathing a lot when you practice. So I can see why yoga would be the same sort of thing. It would be, so it's essential for getting your well-being going. Cool. So if you just tuned in now, you're listening to Nothing Personal with Nikki King. I've got Liz Kirkland from Ears to You and Emma Eliot from Begin Where You Are Yoga. She's come all the way from Ekatahuna. That's amazing. So, and Liz is an ear nurse, and Emma is a yoga teacher. So what drew you to ears, Liz?
Oh my goodness, I kind of fell into it really, I suppose. When I was doing my nursing training and I was doing my last placement, an opportunity came up within the Wairarapa to work for an audiology company.
Right.
And it was suggested that I apply for the role. And I kind of thought I'd had a few health issues in my nursing training years myself, and I was kind of like, do I really want to have to do shift work at this point in time?
Yep.
So I figured I'd apply for the role and thought it'd be a nice cruisy job that you could just slot into. And look, 4.5 years later, I absolutely love it. It's where I was meant to be.
Yeah.
And it's just, I just find the ear is so intricate, and its connection to the brain and the hearing and how it actually functions just totally fascinates me. And I like to make a difference. My mission statement is making a difference one ear at a time.
Yes.
And that's what I do, every day. So
yeah, and your hearing is so precious. I mean, I'm a musician. I don't know what I'd do without my hearing. It would just, so it pays to take care of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Emma, what drew you to yoga?
I've been doing yoga since I did my OE, leaving England and coming this way. Actually, I ended up in Australia. And in the late 80s, the only book that you could get on yoga was a book by BKS Iyengar called Light on Yoga. And I self-taught myself for many years. And then at the age of 50, I decided that I'd become a yoga teacher. It had been part of my life for so many years, and I had loved it. I just thought, I'm going to share this with as many people as I possibly can, and that is where I've ended up. So I did my training 3 years ago. up in Auckland. I'm going to do some more training this year. So very much enjoy it. And at the moment, it's a very small business. I do it for the love of it. And I'm just growing as a teacher and growing my base, my support base, my client base also.
But isn't it wonderful that we can, I know a lot of people have come to the careers later on in life and become self-taught, because that's where I'm at with a lot of the stuff that I do. And you've got so much more time and passion to put into it than you're not distracted like you are when you're quite young, you know.
I spent many years in corporate business in London.
Oh gosh.
and yoga was the thing that actually kept me very balanced.
Yes.
I was the person, I had a bad back, but I'd go to the toilet and I'd do a little bit of yoga and feel much better, and it was the thing that brought me balance. And I just thought, I need to share that with people.
Yes, well, I definitely need to get some yoga then, because I sit at my desk, I get aches and pains from being sat too long, and just being able to have some tools to deal with that and make that feel better would be definitely an invaluable thing for me.
And I really believe that as my business grows and as I become better as a teacher, that I'll be able to offer sort of one-to-one, and that yoga can become a therapy.
Yes, no, that's cool. And I think, the music even is like that,
Absolutely.
Anything that improves your well-being is just an amazing thing. Cool. So have you always been an ear nurse, Liz? Did you do something before nursing?
So I did something before nursing. So before nursing, I was in hospitality. We ran a bed and breakfast on the Kapiti Coast and ran 7 holiday apartments for various people.
Wow.
So kind of, just looking after people and making sure they were happy and things like that. And also while I was over in the Kapiti Coast, I did 6 years with the Volunteer Fire Brigade.
What? So you've been a firefighter as well? Yeah, now I'm learning things about you.
Yeah. So it's kind of, interesting when you look at heading into a nursing, I'm just turned 50 at the beginning of this year, so, my nursing started a bit late in my career as well. But, when you look back on the things that you used to do and you can actually see how you managed to get where you are today.
Yes.
I look back at the firefighting days and I really miss it, I still have a passion for that, first on scene trauma situation. But when I look back, although, yes, I fought fires and yes, you did other things, but we did a lot of medical, we did a lot of car accidents, and I always found myself within patient care.
Yeah.
Or I was always looking after the family members, making sure they were okay and letting them know that we were doing all we could to, help their loved ones. So for me, going into nursing and doing what I do now, it's just putting that whole caring thing into play and just in a different realm, really, I suppose. I
suppose it sort of made it more concentrated into an area that you're really passionate about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good. That's cool. Yeah. I never knew you were a firefighter. Yeah. So Emma, you mentioned you did corporate for a long time. What did you do before you did yoga?
Here's the link to New Zealand. My last corporate job was for McLaren Cars.
Oh my word!
No way!
What fascinating women that
Hang on, can I interrupt? I'm Bruce McLaren's niece.
Oh no, are you really? How funny!
So there you go.
We've got connections already.
So I worked at the factory in Woking, where the race team were, but we also made a supercar with Mercedes-Benz called the SLR, and I was in purchasing.
Oh my
and
word.
I used to make sure that all the consumables that were needed on the production line were available. Yes, it was a very male-dominated industry. Big egos.
I bet.
But a real, it's one of those things that I stepped into, I loved, and was quite happy to step out of.
Yeah.
And prior to that, I'd been in fast-moving consumer goods with people like Birds Eye Walls, which is now Unilever.
Yep.
So all big corporates.
Yep. So it's quite stressful, I would imagine, in fast-moving consumable goods.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm ex-hospitality, and I've done, can appreciate where you guys have come from. But those bring all the things that I've done. I've done lots of jack of all trades, master of none. Brought skills to my business. And I bet you're finding that you're using those skills every...
I studied textiles at university, and my first job was for Topshop on the buying floor of Topshop in London, and those skills I took to fast-moving consumer goods, and those skills I took to McLaren cars, and those skills I still use in my voluntary work in Ekatahuna, and but also, you know, just managing stress, knowing how to be. Yes. I now look after children, which is completely the other side of the spectrum, but all applicable skills.
Yeah, because you work for Power, is it? Power?
I do.
They're a bit like Pause?
Yes, they are. They are. So I look after 4 children in my own home, 4 days a week. Probably the most rewarding job I've ever done in my life.
Wow.
Is making a difference to children's lives. I don't get paid an awful lot for it, but I love it.
Yeah, so I think you do have to be a children's person, you know, to do that kind of thing. And, you know, when all the people that were involved with my children at kindy, you know, they were just amazing people who had such passion for making sure those kids had great days at kindy.
I think if you've had for me, I had my children late. Yeah, I had my first child at 40, and so I had a whole raft of life before children, and so for me, it's been lovely to focus wholly on children for the last 12 years of my life.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play the new single by Looking for Alaska. They messaged me last week and told me they'd got a new single out. So we're going to have a listen to that now. And this is called Calling Out. Brilliant, lovely song.
I'm calling out when your mind is clouded and filled with doubt. I'm calling out when you've lost the one you can't be without. I'm calling out when you're high and you can't find a way down. I'm calling out when your heart is 6 feet on the ground. I'm calling out when your mind is hurting and filled with doubt. I'm calling out when you've lost the one you can't be without. I'm calling out.
You have just been listening to Looking for Alaska, and that's Calling Out. And you're listening to 92.7 Arrow FM on this Monday morning. And in the studio this morning, I've woken up now and know I remember everybody. It's Liz Kirkland from Ears to You and Emma Eliot from Begin Where You Are Yoga. And now I'm going to ask you something a little bit more about your business. So have you got any big plans coming up for your business? Have you got any future changes, Liz?
Well, I think this year for me is all about growing the business.
Yeah.
For me, health and wellness I find are really important, and accessibility to health services is kind of, number one.
Yeah.
So this year I'm kind of concentrating on, I have my base clinic at Marsden Medical 3 days a week. So I'm there Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I've just introduced a Saturday clinic. So I've partnered with Life Pharmacy here in Queen Street in Masterton, and we're going to be running Saturday clinics out of their consultation room on a Saturday.
And that's fantastic for commuters.
Exactly. So, so this is our first Saturday that we're going to be running it this coming Saturday on the 21st. So, we've only had a very short window for advertising, so it'll be touch and go, but, it can only grow. I'm also kind of wanting to look at how I can get into other locations. So, how can I do a clinic in Greytown on a Saturday? How can I get in? I have a clinic in Martinborough, which I do every couple of months within the medical centre there. But I want to be able to get in and actually do it on a Saturday. So, to capture, like the commuters that are in those areas, but also to catch those people that come in from Wellington.
Exactly.
Everyone's so busy working. It's like, oh, hey, look, I'm in here shopping with my wife. Gosh, she's in a dress shop. She's in Veranda yet again. I'm going to go and get my ears done while she's shopping.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think access to healthcare, it needs to change to when people are around, because people are working such long hours now, and they've got their kids quite often, or, that if you do sort of go to where they can access the healthcare, I think you will be onto a winner.
Absolutely. And I mean, I look at my company name, Ears to You, and that literally means that I can come to you.
Yeah, because that was a big concept when we were looking at the beginning of your business. I was there.
Absolutely.
It was cool.
When you were making my logo and trying to, capture my heart, which we did really well. But, I get out into the rest homes and I can go and do palliative, home visits, or if someone's in the hospital and they're struggling, I can take all my equipment into the hospital and we can do it on site.
That's amazing. That's a really valuable service to be able to offer to people, especially like going into the hospice or something like that, a very important sort of emotional time for people when they don't really want to be sitting in a room full of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So what about you, Emma? You mentioned earlier when we were talking before the show that you were branching into something from yoga. So what are your plans?
Yeah, so I've run an accessible event over a couple of days where I've married yoga and food.
Yoga and food.
So there's a site of food which is called Ayurveda.
Yep.
And it's almost like the yoga of food. So certain food types are good for certain body types. And very much hoping to start to run events over weekends where we can combine yoga, meditation, and eat beautiful, healthy, vegan food at the same time. share community, share experience, and lots of laughter in between.
So, are you a vegan?
No, I'm not. No. But I think probably I only eat meat maybe twice a week.
Yep.
It's very much reducing.
Yes.
And I think as your yoga journey progresses,
Yes.
certain things just start falling away.
Yes.
Because they don't serve you anymore.
No.
I'm at in that place with alcohol at the
Yes.
moment. Is that it doesn't? I love it at the moment when it happens, but it doesn't serve me very well
No.
at 3 o'clock in the morning when I
No.
feel it in my gut.
No.
So yes, my diet is very healthy. I have 2 growing boys,
Yes.
so meat does feature in my house because they need
They
it.
do. And if it's anything like my middle boy, they love it.
Absolutely.
My middle boy he loves meat. Honestly, when we've tried to go vegetarian or be more vegetarian, he always has to complain about that. So
Yeah.
so we have to take those things into account, I suppose, with families.
Yeah, so marrying the yoga with food is something that I'm quite passionate about. I love festivals.
Yes.
I'd love to see myself getting onto a festival circuit with both yoga and food. I've started to introduce music into my yoga classes.
nice.
And that's not live music at the moment, but I have plans to perhaps change that.
Fantastic, yeah, because that there's quite a few wellbeing festivals happening now, because WOMAD have a big wellbeing centre, because I know that AD McMaster, who's another lady in our group, she goes along to WOMAD with Marty Girl products every year.
Yes.
And it's a big focus on sustainability.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're great. Me and my boys are great WOMAD fans. We go most years.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
Fantastic. So that's quite interesting, eh? So the food is coming along to the session, or are you encouraging healthier eating, or?
So I won't include food really within my day-to-day yoga classes, although I have at the end of term done a sort of end of term celebrating with my the people that come to my class and offered food to them, and we just have that. There's a term in yoga called Sangha. It's about community. It's about joining, and when you join with people and you share food with them, it is a great thing to build your community.
So the yoga and the food is looking at body types and what's working for you.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
So so in Ekatahuna, that is a great opportunity. Get yourself, or even from the surrounding places. It's not such a long way up there.
No. I have contacts within Masterton. I'm part of the Open Soul Collective, which Talitha and Karina originally set up. So we're very much talking with each other. We share venues. I come down and teach yoga sometimes with Open Soul Collective. And they come up and see me and be part of the events that I have already run.
Oh, cool. So you can come down to Maston, so we need to keep an eye on you. Do you have a Facebook page?
I do. So the Facebook page is Begin Where You Are Yoga.
Yeah.
That's the main page. And then just this new idea of marrying food with yoga. Live yoga, love food is the other. You'll be able to see some pictures of a rather fabulous event that we held at Ekatahuna Campground a little while ago now.
Well, perhaps it's time to have a festival in Ekatahuna.
Indeed.
Because it's on its up. I've got a number of clients up there already, and the business arena, it seems to be growing. So Ekatahuna, watch this space, I reckon. Okay, so I'll come back to you actually. So you're doing yoga and you're looking after kids. Mm-hmm. What sort of thing do you do in your downtime?
I'm part of a small community, so there's lots of volunteering to be done. I am part of a group of ladies that have set up a playgroup. We set it up about 4 years ago. We stepped away from the play centre model and created our own little playgroup in Ekatahuna. We've been very lucky that the school has given us a building for the last many years, at least 5 years, and that building's actually on the disposals list with Ministry of Education. So in my downtown at the moment, I'm looking for new premises. I'm working with this group of ladies to make sure that we continue to have a playgroup in Ekatahuna.
That's very important that people can have a place to meet when they've got young children, because you can be quite isolated, can't you?
So both for parents, obviously we've got the children, the first part of our mind, but also for the parents.
Yes.
Ekatahuna has a very thriving school. When I first arrived in New Zealand 7 years ago, the school had 80 children. It now has over 130.
Wow.
And so our playgroup is actually the only place where these children can meet their peers before they go to school, which is a reason why we want to very much carry it on. So amongst the group, there's a fantastic girl called Sky. She's been applying to MPs, and so we're actually got meetings this week with Kieran McNulty is coming up to see us, to make sure that we've got some power behind our our campaign to make sure that the playgroup continues.
Yes, that's right. So in a small community, you find that you have to be more involved in the...
Yes, well, if I'm a great believer in the saying from Gandhi, be the change you want to see.
Exactly. I think if you want to see change, you've got to be the person that makes that happen.
And I think traditionally, perhaps some of these older communities were run by perhaps the older ladies of the district, but I think we need to make sure that the youth is very much in the forefront of those. You might not think I'm youthful at 53, but but you know, a younger voice needs to be heard within our communities.
I think there's some great advocates for young people. I know that when I've been doing these festivals for grassroots acts, they're younger people, because the corporates are taking over music and it's not getting heard quite so much. So that's when I was doing Glastonbury, that was at the forefront of my head. And there was a lady that came along to Waimea when we did the summer party, and she said there has to be advocacy for younger people, because there's a lot of it. The population is ageing, you know, and we've got to. And you're as young as you feel, anyway. At 46, I'm still a rock chick. We still get out and do these things, eh? So, Liz, what do you do when you're not looking in ears?
Gosh, well, unfortunately, no, I should say fortunately, I've decided to do a diploma of small business and project management this year. So my downtime is taken up with that.
Yes.
Although I have found it really exciting because it's helped me to identify where I want to go with the business and things that are getting in the way.
Yes.
So that's kind of been really good. We've also got a 10-acre lifestyle block, which we purchased about 4 years ago and built a new home on. So I'm very much a city farmer.
Yes.
So we're doing landscaping, things like that, and that seems to take up a lot of time.
Yes, I can imagine.
And as you talk about yoga, and everyone says to me that I can never shut off my mind. It's always going. I need to practice more mindfulness. I need to become quiet and do yoga, and I've tried it in the past, and I stand there and I do this particular pose and I go, I've really got things to be doing, I've got washing to do, I've got things to do, this is so silly, I can't just stand here, and I have to stop. So listening to you kind of saying that you teach people how to do that, what do you say to a busy person who just does not like to shut off?
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm interested in that because I'm a bit like that.
I personally don't think you need to come to a yoga class to practice yoga. I think you can do yoga in your own home. And if you're in your garden doing your gardening and you're focusing wholly on your gardening and not letting lists and I must do enter into your head, then that in itself is yoga.
Yes. So I'm a bit like that when I do music, very immersed. And everything else stops, and that's why it's almost like I've said this a number of times on the show, an antidepressant. Yeah. It's actually something that I need, and I notice it when I don't do it.
It's grounding yourself in the right hemisphere of your brain.
Exactly.
The left hemisphere of your brain is all about the past and the future, the concerns about the past, the worries and the worries about the future. If you can ground yourself in your right brain, then that in itself is yoga. Being present in it is yoga. And the stretching that adds to that is just then being able to feel how your body is. And so you're getting out of here, and you're starting to get into your heart and into your gut. And there's a lot of intuition in your gut that we just don't listen to. Something like 90% of your serotonin comes from your gut. It comes from the vagus vein, goes up to your head. And so looking after these, just staying wholly in your mind, isn't the place to be. You've got to be here in your heart. You've got to be here in your gut.
No, that's right. And I've that's quite interesting about the stretching, because I read when I first started out in business, I used to get really intimidated about going to pitch to clients, going to meet clients, and I watched a TED talk about this woman was like, you know what I do? She said, it was like a bit like fake it till you make it, but she said also women tend to make themselves very small, and she was saying that you need to spread your arms out, make yourself big before you go to a meeting so that you feel big when you walk into the meeting. And I do practice that if I'm going to go into an intimidating meeting. I'll be sat in the car with my arms like this, but it works. It sort of makes your brain think that you're bigger than you are. So I can totally take that on board, that what you're saying there. That's completely interesting. But yeah, I think, you just got to perhaps you get into yoga when you're poking in the ears.
Well, I do, and I was thinking about that as you were saying it. When I'm in a client's ears, I'm solely focused on what I'm doing, and I'm in the moment, and I'm present, and I'm listening to them tell me stuff, and I work in a really privileged environment. And I think because I am very therapeutic and holistic in my clinic practice, is they tell me things that they don't necessarily tell other people, whether it be a health issue or whether it be about their grandchildren or whatever the case may be. So that makes me grounded. Yet when I'm home, my mind is incredibly busy. So,
yeah. So I always ask this, and I know you're going to have to nip off because you've got your first client at 10:30. So, but it would just be me and Emma after that. But we've got plenty to talk about. But I'd like to ask, what's your favourite thing about the Wairarapa?
Oh, the favourite thing about the Wairarapa. Oh, look, I'd have to say the snow-capped tararuas
that's very topical.
I get to see from my lounge window. Look, I think when I first moved to the Wairarapa, I was very disillusioned, I think, with the lack of entrepreneurial people.
Yes.
Within, we moved here about 9 years ago, I think, something like that. But the interesting thing I found over the 9 years is that actually there's a lot of people who are stepping out and going into business.
Yes.
And we're creating more jobs, and we're creating new exciting things within the Wairarapa. I think that some people sit back and they're too afraid to actually take a step forward and take a chance. Everything we do, no matter, whether we decide to incorporate our food into our yoga or whatever, is everything is a risk.
Yes.
And if we don't have the strength to take that risk, we're never going to know.
No, that's right.
So I think at the moment, as much as I love the weather, and it's a microclimate here, and we've got lovely wineries, and we've got so many things to actually do, it's the people that are coming into the Wairarapa and the people that are actually stepping up from the Wairarapa and using local product and local knowledge to actually bring our community, up and getting named in New Zealand, which is wonderful.
It is. It's a very vibrant community, and it is a real community. I love that about Wairarapa. And there are so many enterprising people now, like you say, meet them every day in my job. They turn up. You've got some quotes that you wanted to incorporate.
Look, I have, and I'm still kind of blown away by the whole fact that this lovely lady worked for the McLarens. But with Bruce being my uncle, and one of his top sayings was that he feels life is measured in achievement, not in years alone.
Yes.
And I think he's right. He died very young.
Yes.
But he took risks and he put things in place so that the McLaren name is still continuing.
Yeah.
Now.
Exactly.
And another one, scrolling Facebook as you do in the morning with your coffee, and a quote came up from a girlfriend of mine in the Kapiti Coast, and it says here, be the woman who fixes another woman's crown without telling the world it was actually crooked.
Exactly. I think that's a very true thing.
You know, and I think as women, we actually need to be able to empower other women.
Exactly.
Without making a big deal about it and propping them up from the sidelines instead of being a headline.
Exactly. I think that's very correct. That, you know, we need to be supporting each other. Yep. So, what's your favourite thing about the Wairarapa?
I have to say, it's the skies.
The skies are amazing.
It's the open skies. It's that sense of space. Having come from England, the UK, I am very aware of being hemmed in by greyness, and it absolutely marvels me how much blue sky I see here during the winter.
Exactly.
Love it.
And it's such an amazing colour of blue, isn't it, compared to the UK? Whereabouts in the UK did you live?
I was born in Aldershot,
Yes.
home of the British Army.
Yes.
and I grew up in a place called Farnham.
Yes.
Which is a small market town just south of London.
Yes.
Been here now 8 years.
Yes.
This is home.
Yes.
My boys are New Zealanders, and absolutely love it. I love the fact that the Wairarapa is so close to Wellington.
Exactly.
And I love Wellington. The fact that I can dip in and get my city fix for just 2 hours away is fantastic.
Exactly. We've got the best of both worlds here, isn't it? Because that's what we found being musicians. We can come and do the lazy gigs over here, or we can go off and do gigs over in Wellington and hit the big venues down there. We're so privileged to be so close, and to have the commuter link, I think, is very valuable. It makes this area what it is. So it's important to keep that, I think. There's a lot of debate going on at the moment about the Masterton 10-year plan. So I reckon people should get in and have put their submissions in if they've got strong feelings about what the council is proposing. I did that this morning, and it's quite a simple process. So you can have your voice on the future of Wairarapa. And, you know, if you don't, as somebody was saying, one of you ladies, if you don't go and make your voice heard and be the change, then I've got no excuse when the change is not what you like, really. So I am a big advocate in democracy and getting out there and getting your voice heard. So as a woman, is there any particular difficulties you've overcome in your career? Emma?
Not in my current career.
No.
But certainly when I was working for McLaren in Woking, being a woman, I went through that whole process of I don't play golf.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I can't network because I don't play golf. And asked for my managers for golfing lessons, which were refused as a woman.
That's no good, is it?
Yeah.
But golf is a very, in England, it doesn't seem to be that way here, but in England it's a very, very sexist sport.
Yes.
And I remember being in a Indian restaurant, and me and my husband were having a meal, and some people they were saying, "Oh, the women are not allowed on the golf course at particular times, and not allowed in the club at particular times." And it was really winding. My husband had never heard this before, and he was winding them up, you know. So it was like, but yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Yeah, I find that particularly weird.
Yes.
Yeah. But it doesn't seem to happen. And I think probably because when people came over to New Zealand, they had to just get in there. The women have been tough here, I think.
Absolutely.
And what's really heartened me when I moved here was that New Zealand was pioneers in women's suffrage. So, you know, we've got a good standing here, but still a lot of work to do, I think, for women, just in general in the world.
Absolutely.
So have you encountered any particular...
Oh, not so much now, but I mean, I can remember when I was a PA to a certain gentleman in Wellington, and he degraded women, you know, and I can remember one day I had to get his lunch or organise something, and I'd given them the wrong fork, and he literally threw the fork at me and said, "Oh, you know, you're just a stupid girl." and you know, I was, jeepers, I'd had my children, so I was 30.
Yeah, that's
you
a
know.
bit wrong.
Look, I think it has changed, and you know, I think that's not a general depiction, but it definitely kind of makes you feel that you're less valuable than a man.
Yes.
But now it's kind of like, actually, you know what? turned 50. I'm powerful. You know, I can do what I like. If I make mistakes, I make mistakes.
Exactly. I
but
think
own up to my mistakes and just keep moving forward, really.
I think women do become quite empowered as they get older.
Absolutely. There's that cycle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maiden, mother, crone. When you come into your
Matriarch.
when you come into your crone years, you know, there is a power.
There's this power that you feel inside of you that you can really achieve quite a lot of things as you get older. So you know, women, we mature very well, I think.
I think so.
So what I'm going to do now is, because Liz is going to get off and see her first client, lucky whoever that is. So if you want to see Liz, she's at Masterton Medical. And she does ear clinic there, and if there's a group, you can go out and see them at home.
Yep, absolutely.
So and you've got a website.
Yes, so www.ears, the numerical 2,
Yes.
YOU,
Yep.
.co.nz, so ears to you.
Yep.
But just with the number 2, not the word 2.
Yep.
And look, my clinic's open for everybody. You know, I look after the elderly here. I look after the young children. I have an amazing group of special angels that come and see me. You know, with a whole lot of sort of conditions and stuff. But for me, it's about not being afraid to come and see me for your ears.
Yes.
You know, Look, the one thing I can say, and one of the reasons I moved away from an audiology company, is I'm not going to force you into hearing aids.
No.
I don't test your hearing. I'm purely there to make sure your ears are healthy. You know, and in the last couple of months, we've identified a couple of cancers, and unfortunately, the cancers of the ear are asymptomatic. So you don't actually know about it until it's there. So for me, that's a real important thing.
Yes.
Is, yep. Okay. You can live with blocked ears. Sure. You can live with altered hearing, but would you rather that I identify and go, oh my gosh, you've got healthy ears, woohoo, come and see me in a year? Or do you want me in a year to say, look, I'm sorry, we could have caught this growth earlier, you know, now we're a little bit too late. So, don't be afraid to come and see me. I'm not scary.
No, and you're quite reasonably priced.
I am.
Yes, you know, don't be put off, get along, and can a doctor refer you? Can they refer?
Oh, absolutely. The GPs can refer me. You don't need a referral. Just come in, you know, from any medical centre. You know, if you have an issue, if you come, you know, if you were to come in and see me, for example, and you maybe had an ear infection or something like that, I can actually ring your doctor and say, look, I've seen Nikki today. This is her issue. Are you willing to write her a prescription? So I'm trying to cut down on the precious GP time as well.
Yes.
So to save them time, to save you having to go to them and spend extra money. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes they want to see you, but often they'll just go, yep, okay, Liz, we'll get this, and can you follow up with her? So it works really, really well.
Fantastic. Well, so make sure you get your ears checked, people. Go to the Ears to You website or Facebook page, and you can give Liz a ring, or you can email her or contact her through the website. But it's important, and you know, all these accessible clinics now, you've not got an excuse. So thanks for coming this morning, Liz.
You're
We'll
welcome.
hear more
Thanks
from
for having
Emma after Groove Lagoon. I'm going to play Groove Lagoon shamelessly again. I love this band. Here it is. It's Shiver.
Such a go-getter, I should know better. We're closer now. Who's a new flavor wrapped around your finger?
listening to 92.7 Arrow FM, and you're listening to the Nothing Personal Show with Nikki King. And we've had in the studio this morning Liz Kirkland, who has now gone to her first client. And we've got Emma Eliot here from Begin Where You Are Yoga, and she's also a child. She does childcare as well. I couldn't think of the right words there. So welcome again, Emma. What we try and do is try and inspire women. We tell women's stories on this show. So have you got any messages for women starting out in business? What would you give them to inspire them?
I think it's about self-belief.
Yeah.
It's about knowing that you are enough, and that stepping into something, it's okay to make mistakes, but you should just give it a go.
Yes.
It took me to my 50th birthday to realise the dream of becoming a yoga teacher, which I had toyed with for so long. I was very much helped by the teaching course that I went on,
Yes.
that gave me that self-belief that it was okay. And you're not going to conquer the world in your first year.
No. That's very true.
Every step is the beginning of a journey.
It is.
And it's those small steps that you can take that then you realise that everything changes all the time. Nothing is constant, and that stepping out one day into your business will mean something a week from now, a month from now, a year from now. Don't be afraid of that change.
Yes.
Just embrace it. I'm a great believer in positive thought.
Yes,
of
me too.
Manifestation.
Me too. I actually believe that. I actually believe, because people go, oh, you've done so many things. And it's like, you just got to believe that you can do it. And people go, oh gosh, you can do that as well. And it's like, well, you just got to do it. You just try it. How do you know you can't do it unless you try it? And what's the worst that can happen?
Absolutely, Nikki.
Absolutely. What is the worst that can happen? Not. And I stepped into having my own business when I was a few years ago, 4 years ago now. I'd come from the UK. I'd been off with my children. I was a stay-at-home mum, and all my relevant UK experience was back in the UK. I hadn't worked for 10 years, couldn't get a job. And so I decided to start my own business based on my passion for design and websites. And because my husband is a techie, and it was a bit like, if you can't beat them, then you are going to have to join them. So I ended up, we used to have 2 computers and we'd message each other. So, it started from there, really, and that was my passion. Not that it's the same as yoga. Yoga sounds a much nicer passion to have. I keep hearing about yoga, and I keep getting more and more intrigued about it as something that could help me manage, busy days. So I'm definitely going to get along to somebody's class somewhere.
Absolutely. I can certainly point you in the direction of some fantastic Masterton classes.
Yeah.
There's lots of yoga out there in Masterton.
There is, yeah, there is. Do you think that we were talking there about women sort of not being very confident? Do you think that's a common thing for women, that they feel like they're held back?
I do. I think that's probably changing. I think generations coming up now probably are more confident than perhaps I was as a teenager. I think it's unfortunate that women, in their desire to start families, often have to take career breaks.
Yes,
and those breaks are then seen as obstacles
I certainly
into
felt
progressing.
That. I certainly felt that, and there were reasons why I took the steps to be a full-time mother from my past, which they were nothing against having a career at all. It was just my choice, but it definitely counts against you when you come back to the workforce. People don't seem to think that you've done anything.
Yes.
Or that you have a brain.
Yes. I was very much like you, Nikki. I had my children late. I had rise to the levels of middle management.
Yes.
In my previous careers, had my children, and wanted to stay at home. I wanted to be with them.
Yes.
And the job that I stepped into was actually, I was in Ekatahuna. There was no childcare facilities available. So I became that childcare centre in my own home to look after my son, Sonny, before he went to school.
Yes.
And other children came along to join him.
And
I've never been trained as an early childhood education, but, I've worked in corporate business. I've got a head on me.
Yes.
And I've learnt an awful lot in that business also.
And how wonderful, though, that we've got the playgroup popped up and all that kind of thing from that as well. So that's amazing, really. So if people wanted to come along to your classes, they could go. Have you got a website?
I don't have a website at the moment. I'm just using Facebook.
Yes. Okay. So they can go over to your Facebook page and find out when your classes are, and your contact details are on there.
Absolutely. I teach on a really. It's Sunday afternoon. The whole of Monday I teach, and then it's a Tuesday evening and a Wednesday evening. And you'll see where the locations are on my Facebook page. I don't work with children on a Monday. That's my yoga day, and I look after children on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yes, so you can go to those classes, and there are various locations just in Ekatahuna or around the area.
So I've got 3 classes in the Anglican Church Hall.
Yes.
I run a chair yoga class at Ekatahuna Health Centre, which is for perhaps ladies and gents that don't want to get down onto the floor but want to practice, still have a yoga practice. And then there's I also work out of the Turf Pavilion, which is on Huxley Street in Pahiatua on a Monday afternoon and Tuesday evening.
Yeah. So at various locations you can catch up with Emma. Well, thank you very much for being an awesome guest this morning, Emma. And thank you to Liz, who's now left. She's been a fantastic guest. And what amazing that you've got a connection there. That was so fantastic. You've been listening to 92.7 Arrow FM and the Nothing Personal Show with me, Nikki King. Next week, I have definitely got the Ekatahuna special happening with another 2 businesses from Ekatahuna. What a thriving place that is. So we'll see you next week. Thank you very much for tuning in.